Dear Diary, we're in a bit of a rough pitch at the end of February, backing up the loss to Brighton and draw with Spurs with a 2-0 home defeat to Newcastle. Our strikers were still struggling to score and it felt like another change was needed, so we have now gone to a straight out tiki-taka style, and even though we didn't dominate the game as much as hoped, we managed to get back in the points with a 2-1 win away over Leeds. That has us on 6th on the table with a decent gap back to those outside Europe looking in, but the gap could close as we're about to take on Chelsea and Manchester United. Both teams are still struggling a bit, but with these games being at home, hopefully we stay in that top 7 despite injuries to Brun McGuinness and Goodmanson. We are also due to have this year's youth candidates make their way into the club in between those games. Apparently we should get a decent striker and wing back, so hopefully they don't disappoint. Until next time. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 75 of FMOE here on Shaun Does FM with Cardiff City. I hope you are doing well, and coming up today we have 2 home games in the Premier League against teams under fairly new management as we take on Chelsea and Manchester United, looking to keep ourselves in one of those automatic European spots. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, which should also include this season's youth intake, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated and does make sure you do not miss out on a new episode when it does drop on the channel. But we have played a few games off the back of yesterday's episode where we took on both Brighton and Spurs. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Some mixed results since then and a change of playing style. First up, we did take on Newcastle, a team we did beat earlier in the season. This time we suffered a 2-0 defeat, a game which we actually, based on XG again, should have won. But again, just our finishing not good enough, and I think at this stage it might have more to do with the actual tactical style than the players involved. So I did feel like off the back of that and our previous run of games, as you can see, a lot there, where we were struggling to score goals, and as well as that, just visually in the match engine, it was just not very fun to watch those games get played with that control possession style. After those first couple of games, so we've gone to the third of our assistant managers' recommended tactical styles for this season, and this time it is a regular tiki-taka instead of the vertical tiki-taka that we did start the season with, and things were a little bit better when we did take on Leeds United. Certainly a more entertaining game, so at least hopefully that might carry over for the rest of the season, because as I've said, a couple of those games in the last few episodes have not been very exciting, but thankfully for the first time in 5 games we did pick up a win. Also, Alejo Belize in the goals, which to be fair, he has been getting back on track with that a little bit more recently. Marco Blun, still not the case though, but he got a goal, so did Facundo Farias, to give us a winner with a half hour left. So I think we're going to try the tiki-taka today, especially against 2 teams a bit better than Leeds United, you'd like to think, in Chelsea and Manchester United. And as you saw, we are still in a European spot, albeit with that slightly iffy recent form, just dropping down the table steadily over the last little while, now in 6th, but it's certainly quite close in between Newcastle and Aston Villa in 7th at the moment, albeit I do think 7th should still be an automatic European spot like it was last season, because Liverpool, as you can see, they are already guaranteed European football for next season, having won the Carabao Cup final over Newcastle United. So Football Manager there imitating real life indeed, somewhat of course, with Manchester United actually winning the Carabao Cup final in real life. But first up today, we do take on Chelsea. This is a team who we took on the FA Cup not that long ago in one of our first games off the back of going to a control possession style. They did win that game 3-2, but it was with a full rotation. So hopefully here, with another new tactical style and something closer to our first choice 11, we might be able to pick up some points at home. So far when we have taken on Chelsea here at Cardiff City, usually quite close games, quite a few draws from memory, but hopefully this time we might get the wood over them at home, and they come into this one despite being in 13th in a decent patch of form as well. So it will be interesting to see how we do get on against the former Inter Milan manager Murat Yakin's team, now that he has had a bit more time with them since we did take them on all the way back at the start of January. In terms of us going into this game, as mentioned in the intro, we do have a few injuries, albeit there is an international break coming up off the back of this game. It's another 20 days until we do take on Manchester United, so that is why we should get our youth intake at some stage in today's episode, but 3 injuries, and they're quite significant ones as well. If we go and have a look at the current injuries, Louis Hurtado, not so much because he would not be on the bench. It's usually Orellano in his place, but Mark McGuinness, a torn groin muscle, Marco Blun, a twisted ankle to be fair, not the worst timing for that. With him being so out of form, it does mean that Veliz does have to start, and on recent form, he probably would have been anyway. And also the day before this game, Eilika Gudmundsson, an abdominal strain. He is going to be out for 12 days to 4 weeks, might make his way onto the bench hopefully, or get back from that injury potentially fully for that second game of today's episode against Manchester United. Hopefully that will be the case for most of those players, but for this Chelsea game it does mean we're a little bit weaker both in the starting 11 as well as on the bench, but hopefully we pick up where we left off against Leeds and can gain some momentum playing a tiki-taka style, and we'll come back shortly with the team sheets and hopefully get one over Chelsea from Cardiff City Stadium. And here are the team sheets for this first game of today's episode, and obviously a few changes with those injuries. So Stovall at left back, also Hayati Ertunka's in there for Mark McGuinness, and obviously up front with Marco Blun out. Veliz is there in some decent form, as I said anyway. Probably would have been starting even if Blun was injured, and obviously with those injuries and players coming in, a few changes to the bench as well, but hopefully we can get one over Chelsea here in front of our home fans and keep ourselves in one of those European spots. And we get the first highlight of the game here at the 20-minute mark. It's a free kick for Chelsea in a cream uniform today, and Julian Alvarez will take this from a dangerous area. Mexado doesn't get there, and it is an opening goal for Chelsea here in Cardiff, and we go 1-0 down off the back of the first highlight of the game. As you can see as well, already picked up a few yellow cards which you might have to deal with at halftime. It's a good free kick, but surely Mexado could have seen where that one should have been going from where it was placed, but unfortunately lets that one through, and we go 1-0 down about halfway through the first half. And only a few minutes before half-time, we might get one last highlight here in this first half. So yet again, it's been quite a quiet half, but hopefully at least we can do something here before we do head into the sheds, albeit Farias there does lose out on possession. Had a few chances there to get it back, but Chelsea might get one more chance here before half-time. Reguilon is on the ball, but it's going to be interesting to see today how Tiki-Taka does work against two teams who are quite big but are underperforming at the moment. We try and play a ball in there, or Chelsea do, but thankfully we do deal with that danger, and this time Farias does keep the ball. Now Enes Salih, a little bit sloppy there, and for some reason our defender doesn't get there. Big chance there for Appelkamp, but thankfully this time Mexado makes a big save, so he potentially could have gone into the sheds there 2-0 down. Mexado making up for that earlier free kick, which I think he could have anticipated a little bit better, but still Chelsea have certainly had the better of things in that first half, and we go into the sheds 1-0 down thanks to that Julian Alvarez free kick, and we are going to make some changes with some players on poor ratings up front, and also some of our defenders on yellow cards. We might actually make 4 here at half-time. Renato Tomic will come on for Veliz, his first bit of game time this season in the first team. Ruben Colwell for Farias. Niakate can come on for Ertank on that yellow card, and also Ben Hardy on a yellow, so Ian Hughes can come on for him. Quite a few substitutions here at half-time, and we'll tell the boys not that happy with that first half and hopefully get a response, as we are currently 1-0 down here at half-time. And about 20 minutes into the second half, we get our first highlight here, and we do get a chance here to do something on the counter-attack. The one change we made at the hour mark, we have gone a bit wider in our attack than what would usually be the case with this tiki-taka style, but so far the second half has been quite even still in this game, even though we have not seen a lot of our play in these highlights. But Stovall finds some space here down this left-hand side, plays through Sully. It's a good finish, just sneaks that one inside that far post past an outstretched Mendy in goal, and we grab an equaliser with just under 20 minutes left, and this looks a bit better, scoring some open play goals with the TINKI-TAKA system. Nice work there from Stovall off the back of that switch, and a good finish there with Mendy bearing down on Inasali, and that makes it 1-1 with 20 minutes left. And just inside the last 10 minutes of this game, I think it is time for us to make our last substitution. A few players out there are on red hearts. I think the big difference maker from the bench for us today could be Carlos Dominguez. He can come on for Gordan Jovic with 10 minutes left, still locked up at 1-1. And in fact, before that substitution can even take place, there is a highlight here just 1 minute later. It's a Dozy here trying to make his way forward for Chelsea. Good work there from one of our defenders there inside the box. Didn't quite pick him up, but now we get a chance here on the counter-attack through the player about to be subbed off in Jovic. He beats Mendy yet again from a tight angle. He's going to be coming off the back of this, but he might have scored the winning goal, and that is a good counter-attack bit of work from us. And we maybe will escape with all 3 points here at home against Chelsea and just do enough to pick this one up. Nice long ball forward in Jovic. Too much pace for the Chelsea defence, and he goes off potentially having scored the match winner. And we've made our way inside the last 5 minutes of this game, still with that 1-goal lead. Hopefully we can hold on to this. As you can see, our second half has certainly been a lot better. Our shots on target, way better than they have been over recent times. And maybe the TINKI-TAKA is here to stay. That is a very good win for us, coming from behind. 2 goals for both of our wingers in the second half. That second one did come from a tackle I did go back and watch through OBS from Quezada on a yellow card inside the box. That was a big moment there, challenging Lukaku, and thankfully we went down the other end off the back of that Mexado clearance, and Jovic put the ball in the back of the net, and that makes it 2 straight wins for the first time in quite a while. A very good comeback there, and we pick up a 2-1 win over Chelsea. And off the back of this, we do have quite a bit of time until our next game as well, so maybe scheduling a few friendlies might be a good idea to make sure we do just build up a bit more familiarity with this tactic, because so far just those 2 games against Leeds and that one against Chelsea, but that is going to make sure we do stay inside that top 6, albeit, as I said, I'm pretty sure top 7 will be an automatic European spot this season, and maybe even 8th as well, because I'm pretty sure all the teams left in the FA Cup are from the Premier League as well, albeit I suppose one of the ones lower down could go on and win that, but that is a very good win. Hopefully a sign of a bit of a bounce back here at Cardiff City off the back of some rough recent form. Our second straight win as we beat Chelsea 2-1, and we'll come back shortly, hopefully with this year's youth intake. And we are back about a week off the back of that win over Chelsea. We have scheduled a few friendlies in between now and our next game against Manchester United, including one against the New Saints, which should be interesting, especially with a few of our players on international duty during that one. But here is this year's youth intake. It is rated as a good one. The star player who has come through this one this season is English in Nikos Gumas. He is 4.5 star potential, 1 star current ability. Is a right winger, which was not a position I was expecting any decent players to come through based on that preview that we did have, but still a decent option maybe in the future for this save, albeit I suppose it does depend on when we do start winning some big trophies here at Cardiff City, or if we make a move in terms of top talents. There's a few down here. We have Stephen Collier, goalkeeper, Mike Jones, a striker, who actually has a pretty good finishing attribute, which we could be using at the moment in our first team. Also another Brazilian striker, which is a bit interesting, Artevaldo. So not too sure why we've got a Brazilian in our youth intake, but nonetheless, we do have one. Also another right winger in Ian Carroll, and a central midfielder in Mark Hayward. So far, no wing backs like we were expecting, which is a little bit disappointing, albeit we are quite well stocked in that area from when we did take over here at the start of our time at Cardiff City. And going down a bit further, there's a few 3-star potential players, but probably ones that won't feature too much for the first team. So a little bit different to what we were expecting with that youth intake. A couple of decent potential strikers, but mainly it looks like right wing is the other big area where we could improve through this one. But there is this year's youth intake, the star pupil potentially, Nico Gulmas. And we've gone forward to the day of the second game of today's episode, about to take on Manchester United, as you can see off the back of 2 wins in friendlies since that Chelsea game. So hopefully that does mean we're a bit more familiar with our new tactical style, the TINKI-TAKA, albeit we did have to put out a lot of rotation players in that second one against the New Saints, but did still pick up a 2-0 win, with Billy's getting a double off the back of one in that previous one as well, where we did put an absolute thrashing on the Artillery Bluebirds. That was with close to our first choice 11 before lots of players did go on international duty, so I did think it was quite important we gave as many of those guys some time with that new tactical style as we could before they did disappear on international duty. But we are about to take on Manchester United, a team who thrashed us at the end of last week by 6 goals to 2. That was what sparked our initial first change of tactic for this season to the control possession, and now we have changed again to a regular TINKI-TAKA. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one does go at home. And also, don't think I mentioned this, they do have a new manager, because Roger Smith did eventually get fired for some poor performance, albeit Nick Cox is only an interim manager there at Manchester United, but certainly must have done well enough while he was caretaker to get given that job for the rest of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does. It does look like he prefers a 4-4-2 gegenpress. That does sound quite lethal already, but Manchester United, we are looking for some revenge here off the back of that hammering they put on us at Old Trafford earlier this season. And in terms of our team going into this one, a few of those injured players are back, but not quite recommended for a full game, so they'll only make their way back onto the bench. So in terms of our starting 11, expect it to be very similar to what it was for that win over Chelsea, and we'll come back shortly and hopefully make it a double in today's episode as we try and get some revenge on Manchester United. And here are the team sheets for the second game of today's episode, as we ran through before pretty much without showing you the team. It's the exact same starting 11, but a much stronger bench with the likes of McGuinness and Marco Brun making their way onto it. There are Manchester United in a decent patch of form, to be fair, with that 4-4-2 gegenpress, the gegenpress that always works in Football Manager, but hopefully with a new manager in charge, we can turn things around and beat them off the back of that hammering they gave us earlier this season. And just shy of the 15-minute mark, we get our first highlight in this one, albeit it is a throw into Manchester United just inside the final third. Enzo Fernandez, poor pass there, and Valius does tidy things up. El Bloshy there to Valise, and hopefully a good spell for us early in this game might just seal the nerves, and hopefully we might be a bit more fluent off the back of those first 2 games with this tactic, as well as those friendlies. Now Ben Hardy, who is on attack with this new style, does lose out on possession there somehow. No one down that right-hand side does win that ball. Pedro there with a good chance, thankfully, just puts it wide. That would have been a frustrating situation to have conceded a goal, considering we hid the ball pretty safe there down that right-hand side and somehow lost it with lots of players out there. But we do get a chance here to play out from the back from the subsequent goal kick. Hayati Ertank in the team yet again today, and we start to make our way, hopefully, into the opposition half. Jovic, who was scored that big goal in that Chelsea game, plays one over here for Ben Hardy on attack. It slips through the hands of Henderson, just finds its way inside that far post, and Ben Hardy scores his first goal of the season, albeit not quite as unexpected, of course, because these days Jovic is on a support role and Ben Hardy is more of the attacker with this TINKI-TAKA style. Dean Henderson gets a decent touch on it, but can't quite keep it out, and off the back of nearly conceding down the other end, we take a 1-0 lead right on the 15-minute mark. And only a few minutes off the back of that opening goal now is Manchester United trying to clear that ball deep. Yet again, one of our centre-backs has picked up a yellow card. This time it is Biam, so yet again might need to make a change at half-time, albeit today might be Mark McGuinness, who does come on, but we're holding the ball well here just outside of Manchester United's box. And now Jovic makes his way inside there. Good chance for Sully, but Dean Henderson just does enough to keep that one from crossing the line, and we still hold a 1-0 lead. And nearly inside the last couple of minutes of this first half, we do have a late free kick here, which Jovic does get his head on the end of, but unfortunately just puts that one over the bar. And it does look like we might go into the sheds with a 1-0 lead, at least hopefully that's the case, because now Manchester United do get a chance here. Okafor inside the final third finds Anthony. Good shot from him, but thankfully we got a body in the way of that. And now Man United are still on the attack. Good chance there for James Few, but thankfully he was offside, and hopefully that will be all she wrote for this first half. In terms of the highlights that we have seen, a lot better than that first half against Chelsea, and Ben Hardy with his first goal of the season, hopefully not his last, now that he is on an attacking duty, does mean we go into the sheds with a 1-0 lead. XG-wise, Man United the better team, but it does look like with this tiki-taka style, we are a bit more clinical with our chances, so hopefully it does mean that we don't have to be as worried about things like XG Ola Biam on that yellow card. Mark McGuinness will come on for him, but that will be our only sub here at half time. Pretty happy with how this one is going. We'll get things back underway with that 1-0 lead. And very early in the second half, it's an early free kick here for Man United, but thankfully Quezada heads that one away. James Few on the volley nearly scores an absolute screamer, comes crashing off the post. They are still on the attack, but thankfully Tank does stop that one from going back into the mixer, but that was nearly a wonder goal there from Manchester United's young wonder kid striker. We did just have the next gen list before this game, but this year no Cardiff City players were on it, so I didn't think there was much point in showing you guys that one. But from a highlight not too long off the back of that first one, we do get a chance. Ines Sully there was through on goal, but I think that's a red card there to Nathan Patterson. That is a debatable call, albeit he would have been one-on-one with the keeper. Now Jovic with a free kick puts it top left corner, so I suppose that red card call has kind of worked in our favour. I thought Ines Sully there might have still had a pretty good chance to score, but shortly off the back of that red card, which could be a big moment, Jovic, who is quite useful from those free kicks, puts that one top left corner, and now we are 2-0 up, and shortly off the back of that, we have a free kick where Valise gets his head on the end of that one, just puts that one over the bar, but 2-0 up and playing against 10 men with just over a half hour left. And just inside the last 25 minutes of this one, we are on the attack here off the back of clearing our lines from defence, and Valise here will play this one forward to Jovic off the back of an assist and a goal already in this one. Ben Hardy tries to put a ball in the mix there potentially for Valise. Quezada will find Falius, a little bit of help from the underside of the crossbar, but he makes it 3-0, and this is going to be 3 points, a satisfying 3 points too against Manchester United after that absolute pumping they put on us at the end of last week. And while we are here, we might take off some players who were a little bit tired coming to this one off the back of the international breaks. This is actually quite a timely performance, and maybe those friendlies did just help us a little bit. So Ben Hardy playing well, one of those players who was tired, so Hughes will come on for him. Also El Bloshy Jashari can also come on, and the one player on a bit of an average rating is Valise. We'll see if Marco Brum, with a bit of confidence in this team, can find some goal scoring touch in these last 20 minutes. 3-0 up against Manchester United. And with 15 minutes left in this one, we're going to make our last substitution. Ines Sully is down to a red heart. We should bring on Luca Orellano, albeit Carlos Dominguez is probably a bit more of a game changer, a bit of a better quality player. So in fact, we'll bring him on instead in that left wing spot with our last substitution, still 3-0 up. And we are into the last 5 minutes of this one. We do still hold that 3-0 lead. It's been a very clinical performance, obviously helped by that red card to Nathan Patterson. There is a corner here for United to try and grab a consolation goal, and Bessie gets a good hit on the end of that one. Does come off the post, to be fair. They have gone close a few times earlier through James Few and there as well, but I think we have been the better team based on the highlights we have seen, and a lot more clinical in front of goal. Hopefully that is a theme through this tiki-taka style. Good chance there for Jovic to grab a double, tries to chip the goalkeeper. It also comes off the post, and the woodwork is coming to the aid of both teams in this one, albeit probably to Manchester United's help a bit more, or should I say to our help a bit more than Manchester United. And this highlight is going to continue, albeit I do feel like with just 1 minute left, it might be a pointless one to end this game. But United do get the ball, and Avora does get in behind our defence. Decent shot there, but it does go over the bar. But as I said, this has been a pretty good performance. And if anything does happen in this last 30 seconds, we might come back to it, because I think we've already wrapped up this game pretty well. And indeed, we just played the ball around the back in those last couple of seconds. That was a very good performance. As I said, Manchester United did hit the woodwork a few times, but overall that was a very good performance, very clinical in front of goal, obviously helped by that red card to Nathan Patterson, and that is one of our best wins in quite a while, a 3-0 win, especially with some of our first choice players still out and not starting, in the likes especially of McGuinness and Goodmanson at left back in particular. So certainly could still improve, but those are two very good results off the back of that Leeds win. 3 wins from 3 since going to a TINKI-TAKA, and also those results down the left-hand side do look like they've helped us out in terms of getting a gap on those teams just outside of a European spot at the moment. So that is a very good match day for us. We are now 8 points clear of Aston Villa, albeit they do have a game in hand off the back of a 3-0 revenge win over Manchester United. And back in the inbox off the back of that second game in today's episode, very, very good win against a team who thumped us late last year. Very, very satisfying indeed. And hopefully that does mean we've found our tactic, at least for the rest of this season, but early stages, it does look like the one, which might just suit us here at Cardiff City. It has taken a while for us to find it, but the last one we went for of the assistant manager's recommendations, early days, does look like it might be our suited one, the usual tiki-taka, instead of what I thought it might be in the vertical tiki-taka, and then the control possession style. But that will do it for today's episode. Now up in 5th on the Premier League table, albeit Arsenal and Aston Villa do have games in hand, in particular Arsenal, who are just 1 point behind us, but with only 7 games left in our season, you'd like to think this time around we are going to make our way into European football for next season. But if you did enjoy today's episode, those 2 wins over Chelsea and Man United, as well as this year's youth intake, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and have been enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. We'll come back for tomorrow's episode, the last one of the week. We probably won't quite get to the end of the season because we could still find ourselves in a situation with those last few games where we could sneak up that table potentially a little bit more, because if I get rid of my face cam so you can see our last few fixtures before we take on Liverpool and Arsenal, which I think will be the games that we try and come back for in tomorrow's episode. They are 3 games away from home, but taking on Brentford, Leicester and Stoke, all in the bottom half of the table, and 2 of those in particular, Stoke and Brentford, currently in the relegation zone on our recent form. With this new tactic, I'd like to think we might get 7 or 9 points from those games before we do take on Liverpool and Arsenal, who obviously will be a lot tougher, and that might mean we can get ourselves right in the hunt potentially for maybe even a Champions League spot if we can beat Norwich and Watford in our last 2 games of the season. So that will probably be our next 2 episodes. Liverpool and Arsenal tomorrow, then followed by our last 2 games of the season, which really we should be winning yet against 2 teams who are right down in the bottom half of the table, but things might get tougher tomorrow as we take on 2 big clubs who are actually playing quite well in Liverpool and Arsenal. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.